We start the hour in Kenya, and we're still following that tragic building collapse in Nairobi last Friday. Rescue efforts are still underway a week after the collapse. The death toll has risen once again. It now stands at least 33, with scores more people still missing. Several buildings in the area are now due to be demolished in the coming days, but that's raised concerns over where the residents will go. The presumed owners of the six-storey residence, meanwhile, have been released on bail. That's after appearing in court on Wednesday. And at least 80 people are still missing. Rescuers, however, say they are still hopeful of finding people alive. Now, let's bring you a quick update on that story. We joined live from the building site by CCTV's Robert Nagila. Robert, just give us the latest on rescue efforts there. We've heard some reports that a woman was recently found alive.
Oh, thank you very much, Lindy. Well, almost 7 days to the day when that tragedy occurred. The building collapsing, killing over 30 people. That's the death toll so far. When this effort was about to move from a rescue effort to a recovery effort, but the engineers, the rescuers behind me simply refused to give up. And about an hour ago, we got word that they had made contact with a woman who's stuck underneath the rubble. I'm just going to move off the shot of the camera so that you can get a better perspective of exactly what's going on behind me. You can see there's a couple of bulldozers there, the heavy equipment trying to remove some rubble, and on to its left, where you've got some engineers from the military, the National Disaster Operations Center, and of course the Red Cross digging underneath there. Those are the people who made fast contact with that woman. Now they say that at the moment they are unable to get too close with heavy machinery for the simple reason that the woman underneath there says that it is pressing against her. So they've asked for more equipment, sensitive equipment, to try and remove that equipment very gently in a sensitive manner so as not to injure her any further. Now, we've also seen some oxygen tanks being lowered there to where this woman is thought to be. We've not seen her ourselves. As you can imagine, it's a very sensitive area where they're operating at the moment. We've been updated over every 5 or so minutes, and they say that at the moment she appears to be in good spirits. So some very good news out of this very tragic series of events. Lindy?
As you say, very good news indeed. And of course, Robert, the refrain this week has been that Nairobi, or at least Kenya, never wants to see this happen again. And as a result, there's been conversations now about demolishing some of those buildings in that area in the coming days. What more can you tell us about that?
Well, Lindy, we just spoke to the Permanent Secretary for Public Works. He gave a briefing about 20 minutes ago, and he says that in total they've identified 226 buildings for demolition. In this particular area, Huruma, where this building went down last Friday, they say that they've earmarked 70 buildings for demolitions. They say that the demolition process will begin tomorrow. They say that they're aware that some of the landlords may rush to court, but they say that this is about human lives and due process has to be followed. Now, they say that the 226 buildings that I told you earlier, this is around the whole city, Nairobi itself, and on the outskirts of Nairobi. We're still not very sure whether this includes other areas across the country, but at this particular moment they're focusing on Nairobi itself, and within this particular area in Huruma, 70 buildings are set to come down. As to where the occupants will go, that issue has yet to be addressed properly. Of course, you've got whole families living in these buildings who've been staying there for a very long time. We've got nowhere to go. So safe to say at this particular moment that they are probably trying to look into that particular angle of this particular operation. Lindy?
And of course, as we understand, Robert, the people that are responsible for these particular buildings, they did appear in court yesterday, but have been released on bail. This news has sort of sparked some debates, especially on social media. But there on the ground, how do people in Huruma feel about the fact that those responsible for those buildings are now out on bail?
Well, clearly they're not very happy with the current situation, but for them it's what they can afford. Unfortunately, it's a whole that you have to go through. Number one, the particular land that the building has come up on is in question. Where the building is sited is in question. Now, according to the laws here in Kenya, you're not supposed to put any building within 30 minutes of a water source. Now, the water source is just after that bulldozer, maybe 10 meters down from where it's standing at this particular moment. So it's supposed to be 30 meters. So where we're standing at this particular moment, including all the buildings you see behind me and going much up further, this is riparian land. There's not supposed to be any construction work taking place here. So then questions now begin to arise. How is it that they got approval to start constructing? Who are the officers who are approving? At every stage you need to have officials from the county government coming to inspect that building. Who were those people? How did they get the paperwork? And from what we understand now, the building did not have a permit for people to go and live inside. And one could speculate that most of the buildings that we've seen, which are probably up for demolition as well, do not have those permits. And if they do, then they did get those permits through corrupt means.
Now,
so this is some of the questions that the investigations that are on the way at the moment will answer.
Now, Robert, just before we let you go, let's just return to that good news that we started with. You did mention that a woman is believed to be alive within that rubble, and there's some coordinated efforts taking place right now to rescue her. Just perhaps for the benefit of our viewers, if you wouldn't mind stepping aside a bit once more and just giving us a lay of the land and explaining exactly what is happening as far as those rescue operations are concerned.
Absolutely, Lindy. I'll just move away now. What you can see is rescue officials now trying to get underneath the building. They're using drills to cut through the rubble at this particular moment, for the simple reason they tell us that they did manage to make contact with the lady in question much earlier. We still don't know her age, but they say that she's an adult, and they say that she told them that as they were digging deeper to try and get to her, the rubble was simply pressing on her. That's one of the reasons why they've stopped using either of the two bulldozers to lift the rubble from underneath, and they're now using drills. They also tell us that more equipment, sensitive equipment, has been ordered and is scheduled to be here in the next 30 or so minutes as they try to get to this woman. The hope is, Lindy, that at some point this afternoon, she will be brought up to the surface and rushed to Kenyatta Hospital, which has been put on standby as we speak. Lindy?
Right, thank you so much for that update. Robert Nagila live there in Huruma on the site of those rescue efforts where we believe one woman still alive underneath the rubble after a week.